Every week I'm like, one day I'm going to stop making dances about my dead dad, but it's not today. I always joke that like my PhD was my hobby. Dancing and choreographing is my career. A lot of people in the industry don't want you to be a full rounded person. You're supposed to just be the dancer, the singer, the actor. But what I'm constantly finding as I get older too is that
if that hit for you, you are going to love every single second of this conversation. Welcome back to Kicking It Real. Today, I'm sitting down with Dr. Chloe Roberts, dancer, choreographer, Steps on Broadway faculty, and genuinely one of the most fascinating people I've ever gotten to talk to. We get into building a career that refuses to fit one box, what happened the year she turned 30 and how she danced through it, her sold out New York City debut, and why she will never ask a dancer to work for free. If you're new here or coming back, make sure you are following or subscribed and send this to one person in your life that needs to hear it. Now, let's get into it. You guys, welcome back to Kicking It Real. Today's guest is the epitome of being multifaceted. She has a PhD in history and is also a working New York City dancer, choreographer, and Steps on Broadway teacher. She's been on stages from Prague to New York, serves on Actors Equity, and is one of the most in-demand adjudicators in the competition world. We're pretty much lost long sisters, or like at least cousins. But like, I do feel like you're the cooler one. So Dr. Chloe Roberts, welcome to Kicking It Real.
Thanks for having me. Another Roberts gal.
I know. Well, we taught together. I keep saying this summer, but it was literally like 6 months ago. I was like,
oh, you're right. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I was like, another Robert. Also, it's like the most common last name. So I don't even know why I was that.
Yeah. But still, it's the best last name.
I felt really cool. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But okay, we're going to warm it up. What have you been kicking it with lately?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. So is this like, do you want me to talk about dance things or do you want me to talk about like life things?
I want you to talk to you about anything that comes to mind. It doesn't have to be dance.
Okay. What have I been kicking it with lately? Well, I was just saying before we started this officially that I had to go pull my sourdough bread out of the oven. So I have been kicking it with sourdough bread recently. I've been trying to not be on my phone all the time. Like that's a big thing that I'm trying to get into. And it's so hard. It's so hard for me. I love TikTok. Like
she loves to scroll.
Yes, I do. So I've been trying to not be on my phone as much. And so I was like, I need some analog activities. And I really love to bake. So I've been making a lot of sourdough bread. So I've been kicking it with some sourdough bread.
I have two things because one, I also said I want to get on the sourdough game.
Yeah.
Can you like buy a starter somewhere? Because someone was like, oh, do you have a starter plug?
Yeah. So I think you can buy starter. I have a friend in Brooklyn that gave me this starter, but I think you can buy it. But I'll also send you the book that I use. It's like the sourdough Bible for me. I'll send you that and it can tell you how to make a starter too. It just takes like 2 weeks. So you have to kind of commitment. It's commitment.
I have time, but it's been on my radar for a while now. And I finally I knew it would just come to me when I was ready to like start that journey. It's it's the time, which also the phone thing, I like just leave my phone in other rooms and I'm so good.
Impressed. I'm so impressed by that.
Not often, but like if I'm like, okay, I need a break and I need to like really go hard and like clean this one spot. I just am like, I leave it, but then you just keep going.
No, that's smart. And I will say, I mean, I take yoga like every single day. And so I don't have my phone during class, obviously. Yeah. And then obviously if I take Pilates or if I'm in class or teaching, I don't have my phone out. So there is a majority of my day that goes without the phone, but it's just so easy to just like sit and scroll. And
it's like
also
a habit.
So funny. Like people on TikTok are hysterical. And so then I find myself just kind of laughing. I've really curated a really good algorithm.
But you know what? And then I feel like it's not as bad for you because you're not. Whereas like my algorithm lately, like both Instagram and TikTok, I'm getting a lot of like court case tragedies. Like I'm getting a lot of that. I'm getting a lot of dog content, which is not bad, but it's also those videos where it's like, they only have 12 summers, so take them.
And I'm like,
I'm like, and then I'm like sending them to my husband and I'm like, we're bad parents. I'm like, this is why I'm like, I bend over backwards. Okay. Anyways.
I'm watching sourdough bread videos. I'm watching cute cat videos. I'm watching really talented dancers, vegan food.
Okay. Yeah. I know. It's those things where it's like the guilty pleasures where I know I need to keep scrolling for my own sake, but it's just, you keep indulging. But okay. On that note, what are you kicking to the curb?
Yeah, what am I kicking to the curb? Okay, so I'm really, really trying to work on just being nicer to myself in general this year. I just turned 34, and I think when I look back on like my late 20s, especially, I mean, my 30s too. All I do is work. I just work all the time, and that's not a complaint. I'm really lucky that I have so many jobs, especially jobs that I really love doing.
Mhm.
But I think I can just be really, really hard on myself. So just trying to give myself a little bit more kindness and letting myself rest. That's very much included in
Yeah.
that. I'm not a rest day gal. I love to be booked and busy all day, every day. So I'm
Well,
trying.
I've seen things about how, like, rest can be look different, and you can, like some
Yes,
people sit on the couch and rot, and that's
totally.
resting, but some people resting is folding laundry. I feel like I fall somewhere in the middle of
Mhm,
those, and
mhm.
okay, see, I'm obviously chronically online a little bit too, but have you
No.
seen the ones too where it's like it'll, like, list a laundry list of all of someone's accomplishments, and they're like,
Yes,
"Oh, but but, like, that's expected, like, that's not
right.
cool. That's
No,
just
exactly.
the normal," which is
Right.
not the norm, but, I relate to those
No,
for
I
sure,
agree.
but
Yeah,
no,
and I think too, a rest day for me, like, I really love being at home and cleaning my apartment, and I
so
have 2
good.
cats that are, like, the loves of my life, so, like, even if I'm home and I'm, like, accomplishing tasks, it still feels like a reset for me, even though I
Yes.
probably should just, like, lie on the couch.
Maybe, like, a little of both, like, a little, like, a reset,
Yeah.
because also I can't relax if it's a mess,
No, not at all, not at all.
so you have to just do that,
Yes,
but
I need the space to be clean and calm and yeah, so
for sure.
yeah, I'm kicking to the curb being mean to myself, or I'm trying.
Yeah, I
Giving a
was
light kick.
let's be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little, like, softball kick.
Yes, yes.
We're gonna go back to the beginning because you're
Okay.
from Houston, which is,
I am.
like, very full
Yeah.
circle of us.
I
What was
know.
it like growing up here, and how did you feel like the opportunities were
Mm,
in Houston versus, like, where you're
yeah.
at now?
Totally. So I grew up in Houston. My dad worked at Tuts for a long time. My dad was a Broadway production stage manager, and my mom was a dancer as well. That they actually met doing a production of Carousel.
So cute.
So we grew up. Houston was the home base, but then also on tour with my dad. So, like we did the original Sunset tour, Grease with Sutton Foster. Um, Tommy, Guys and Dolls. So most of my early childhood was spent on the road, which is really cool. And I have like such strange but also interesting memories of being a little
Yeah.
sitting in the wings and looking out. And we did Wizard of Oz, and Mickey Rooney was the wizard. So it was just like this incredible. Eartha Kitt was in that. So it was this just incredible exposure to the arts at a really young age. Um, so then once we kind of settled, Dad retired from touring, and we kind of settled in Houston more. I started dancing at a studio, North Harris Performing Arts Academy, up near the Woodlands.
Oh, shout out.
And yeah, it was awesome. And I had really, really wonderful teachers who were very like technically trained. They were contemporary dancers that were working at the time as well. Amy Kane and Dawn Dipple. They're just so wonderful. And I'm really grateful for my time there because I think they exposed me to very artistic contemporary dance at a really young age. We
Yeah.
did, like, ballet and jazz and, like, all of their very classic technique training, but I look back and I think about the fact that, like, we were dancing to, like, Ani DeFranco and Fiona Apple and stuff like that, and so even though we did go to competitions, I was still getting this really strong technical foundation.
Yeah.
So I think that really changed the trajectory of, like, what kind of a dancer I wanted to be. I, at the time, was, like, going to regular high school, I played soccer, I had a job, like, dance wasn't my, like, only thing, which now looking back is, like, so weird because it is now. Um,
Yeah.
but I had, like, peers went to performing arts school in Houston, and I just, like, went to regular high school, so I was,
I
like, kind of
forgot that that's a thing here,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, a bunch of my
Mhm.
colleagues went to HSPVA, but yeah, I just kinda, like, went to, like, regular school, and dance was a big part of my life, but it wasn't my only thing.
It's
So
funny that you say that you feel like that way because I'm like, "Oh, no, you have" yes, dance is your main thing, but I'm like, there's actually, like, so many parts of you,
no,
so,
totally,
like, for
for sure,
me, and I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
I would like, before you said that, I was like, "Oh, yes, this is
yeah.
actually, like, making so much sense,"
No, you're
and,
right,
like
that never occurred to me until just now when you said that.
right? Like, no, that because I've not to your degree, but, like, always the same where I was like, I love dance and
Yeah,
I enjoy it, but yeah, I didn't wanna go to, like, the performing arts school. I
right.
wanted, like, normal
Yeah,
experience. Do you
yeah.
feel like maybe because you had that intense exposure
Mm.
earlier on, you're like, "Okay, I kind of got some of it
Hmm.
already?"
I think my parents were also really big on that they didn't really want me to get a dance degree or like a theater degree, not because they don't respect them or anything, but also like this was like a long time ago now. I'm 34 and that was
So
obviously
long.
high school, so it's like almost 20 years ago. I think like having a dance degree or a theater degree now is very different than it was when we were younger. Like
Yeah.
it was kind of one of those things where like if you didn't go to Tisch, if you didn't go to Juilliard, then like what are you
What's the
doing?
point? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that part of that maybe also influenced it, and that I was like, "Well, I don't wanna go to school for those things, so, I'm gonna look at some different avenues maybe."
Yeah.
Um, they were always kinda like, "If you wanna be a dancer, then you need to move to New York and you need to just, like, try to work," and I was way too scared to do that, and honestly, I was not good enough to do that by any
Same.
means. I would have
Mhm.
gotten eaten alive and, like, spat out, and I would have probably given up and maybe
I
done something else,
I
you
say
know?
that all the time. Yeah, I'm like, I
Yeah,
needed
yeah.
college. So what did you end up going to school for undergrad?
Yeah. So I went to undergrad in this really small town in Colorado called Durango because I wanted to
Mm.
live in the mountains, which is so funny because like now I like don't like the outdoors. Like I don't want to hike, I don't want to camp.
They're pretty to look at though.
Yeah, but I think like growing up in Texas, we used to go to Colorado for vacation a lot and I was like I think I want to go live out of this giant city that I've been in. I want to go live
Mhm.
in like a pretty mountain town. So I ended up going to this tiny school. It was great. I like really am happy that I got my education there. And I started out as a marketing major because I thought I wanted to work in the music industry, like with some sort of like production or something
Oh,
like that.
okay, but still kind of makes sense a little bit.
Totally,
Like the
totally.
production maybe,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I also just like love music. That's like my
Yeah.
first and truest love. So I was like, I want to, be involved in that somehow. And then I remember going to school for the first semester and sitting after my first semester, sitting in my advisor's office, and he was like, "Okay, so next semester you're gonna take econ, and you're gonna take statistics, and you're gonna take business, and you're gonna take all of these math classes." And I remember looking at him and being like, "Absolutely not. Nope.
For
I'm
marketing?
yeah, yeah. I was like, "I'm not doing that. I have no interest in doing that." And in high school, I always, like, loved history. In the back of my mind, I was always like, "I would love to be a history teacher, but I'm not gonna make any money, so I don't
Mm,
wanna do that," you know?
yeah.
And so then I remember looking at the course catalog. It was like an actual book because this was back in the olden days. It was an actual book, and
The
it, like,
ancient
listed
times.
out yes, it listed out for the next semester that there was a history course that was, like, Reformation Europe, and then another course that was, like, the Black Death in Europe or something like that, and I was like, "That's what I wanna learn about. I wanna read about that." And so I walked out of my advisor's office, I walked over to the history department, and I changed my major that day. And I remember calling my mom and being like, "I'm changing my major," and she was like, "Okay." Like,
Great. What you're
you
like,
know?
it's early enough, it's fine,
Yeah,
whatever.
and she was just very much like, "If you get a history degree, what are your options gonna be?" And I was like, "I think I wanna be a teacher." And she was like, "Okay, just remember, like, that's probably not gonna be very lucrative. I'm not" she was always very supportive. My mom has always been so supportive of everything that I've done, but she was like, "I just want you to remember, like, that's probably gonna be a very different financial life than a different business path or
Yeah,
something." I was like,
yeah.
"Totally, I'm not gonna be miserable. I'm not gonna do
Well,
it."
and that's something yeah, it's I think that deters a lot of people even
Right.
now from doing any type of
Absolutely.
arts major because
Absolutely.
you have parents who are can actually think long term where, like, for me, when I was 18, I was like, "I just wanna dance, I don't know." Like,
Totally.
I don't think about
Totally.
that, which is,
Right.
a me thing. But that at this time, did you think that you were ever going to be dancing professionally, or were you like, "Okay, like, I'm done with dance?"
No, yeah, not all. I
Ah,
taken, like, 3 months off, and then the following semester, I needed, like, a PE credit, and they had, like, a beginning ballet class or something, and I was like, "That would be nice." Like, could, like, use my technique maybe, and then I started taking class, and I was like, "Oh, wow, I just, like, forgot how much I really like this."
yeah.
And then there was actually a dance club at my school. There was no dance major. I don't even think there's a theater major there, but there was a dance club, and they were having auditions, and it was like it's not like a pom club or like a
Mhm.
chill club, it's literally just like a dance club, and they put on a show at the end of the semester, every style. And so I was like, "Okay, well, like, I'll go and I'll audition." And I went and I auditioned, and, it was interesting, to say the least. It was just
Wait,
all levels,
yeah,
all levels. I guess that's
that's
what
just
I
what I'm
yeah.
imagining, yeah, where you're
Whatever
yeah.
you're picturing is correct. So, it was that, and so then I got cast to be in, like, a few people's pieces, which was really fun, and I, like,
Yeah.
made new friends, but I also was like, "Oh, actually, like, I miss this," and so then basically at the end of that semester, I did the little show, and this woman comes up to me after the show. She's in the lobby. She's this, like, tall, beautiful blonde woman, and she comes running up to me, and she's like, "Are you Chloe?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Hi, I'm Anne." At the time, her last name was Gillis, and she was like, "I own Dance in the Rockies. It's a competition studio. Would you like a job teaching?" And I looked up at her and I was like, "Well, I've never taught dance before." And she goes, "That's okay. Like, I can teach you how to teach dance." I was 18, and I was like, "Okay."
Let's do
And
it.
yep, and to this day, I always say that, like, that moment changed the entire trajectory of my life because I was like, who am I to teach dance? Like, I've just, like, took dance. I'm not a teacher. I don't know anything about that." And so then the next fall, I came back to school and I started teaching at the studio, and she was just, like, so supportive and kinda took me under her wing, and she was also a newer studio owner, and so she hired a bunch of younger faculty, and we
Yeah.
kinda just, like, made it work. And that was when I was like, "No, I actually, like, really love teaching, like, a lot." And this is why it's so
That's really cool. And I also love from both sides, like dance and history and academics. It's like you were just like, no, like this is like what I enjoy. And you like
yeah,
very much are like leading with passion and then like it works out. Where I think so many people get caught up in the like logistical, like, oh,
yes,
well, what's gonna happen? And like I don't know what I'm gonna do. And it's just like just
totally.
do something and start
Yeah,
moving towards it. And you don't
yeah,
know what doors are
right,
going to open from
yeah,
that. Okay, cute. So you worked there, you finished your
yeah,
history major.
yep, so I worked
Now
this
what?
I was really excited too because I remember thinking I was making a lot of money because I was getting paid $22 an hour. And
She's
that was like,
loaded.
I mean, yeah, at 19, that was a
Yeah.
lot, especially because, like, I lived in a small town. I was like, "I'm making really good money doing this," you know? So that
Yeah.
was the other part of it too was that I was like, "Not only do I like this, but it's, like, helping support my life," which is great, and I got to slowly start choreographing on the competition team and working with the older kids, and I think through that, that was how I realized that I could make a career out of it, because I started realizing that I think I'm a talented choreographer and that I felt like I had something to
Yeah,
say
maybe.
as a
Yeah.
choreographer, but like at 19, like stupid at 19, you don't know anything. But I remember people saying to me that my stuff looked different in a good way. And I started to win choreography awards at competitions, which again, like at 19 and 20 years old, that's like shocking. And
Esp
so
with no experience. Like,
yeah, yeah,
experience, yeah.
right, right, exactly. And so I ended up graduating early from undergrad, but then I stayed. So I graduated in December, in like 3.5 years, and then I stayed for the following semester because I wanted to finish out the school year with the dance studio. I'm
Mhm.
not going to give up the money and have a lease and things like that.
Yeah.
So I stayed, and I took like an intensive French course at school because then I wanted to move to France for the summer and go to school at the Sorbonne for like a French cultural immersion thing.
Do you speak
Uh,
French?
I do, yeah, because I studied my degree is technically in French history.
Yeah. I don't
And
know
s
why I didn't put that together. You probably could
yeah,
speak French, like
yeah, I
like,
did.
that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Yeah, totally, and so, yeah, so I finished my degree, and I had decided that I was also gonna apply to master's programs because my undergraduate advisor, he was like, "You're really good at this, and you really like it, and you say you wanna be a teacher, so do you wanna teach high school?" And I was like, "Honestly, no." And he was like, "So if you wanna teach college or at, like, a high-level private school, you need a master's and then probably a PhD." And I was like, "Okay." So I kinda started looking at master's and PhD programs, and I applied to a bunch, and I got into a few, and I got into Boston College's master's program. And I love the East Coast. I'd kind of always wanted to be on the East Coast. My dad was a New Yorker, and so I was kind of always trying to get here. I always thought I would go to NYU, and then the cards just kind of like led me somewhere else. So when I got into BC, I was like, that's where I'm gonna go. I want to be on the East Coast. There's some dance there, not like,
Yeah.
but I'd be closer to New York.
Right.
So
Well,
I moved to Boston, after living in France for that summer, moved to Boston and started teaching at a studio there and kinda just kept doing the same thing, like going to school and teaching and then also dancing. I was dancing with a company there and yeah.
do you feel like when you switched your majors, like, you're like, "Okay, I wanna learn about history," were you I mean, obviously, you knew, like, that was probably the most common path to teach it, but were
Mhm.
you like, "Okay, like, no, I'm gonna switch to history because I'm gonna end up being a college professor," or, like, you just were like, "Oh, this actually just interests me?"
I think a little bit of both. I
Okay.
think I knew because also our generation kept getting told that being a teacher was like a really stable path. Even though it's not intensely financially lucrative, there are always jobs for teachers. That's what we kept
Right.
getting told. So I was like, okay, if nothing else, I will be able to have a consistent, stable
Right.
job. So I think that was kind of in the back of my mind. I as I got older and towards the end of college and then in my master's program, I very much was like, I do love this. I enjoy it and I like will be a professor and also it's something I can do later in my life. but what I really wanna do is dance, and I wanna choreograph. That's
Yeah.
what I want. But I was always too scared to give up one or the other. Like, I was like, if I give up going to school and if I give up this history degree and this pathway, then, like, I have to rely entirely on dancing and teaching dance and choreographing to make my money, and I'm really scared to do that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm way too pragmatic to do that, and so, I was like, I need to just be really tired and work, like, 60-hour weeks and just do both, which
Yeah.
I do not regret at all,
No,
at
like,
all.
I mean, it's you were grinding one way or the other, and at least one it's like a little bit of
Yes.
something. Do you feel like you're seeing your parents both being in like the arts-ish
Mhm.
field, like gave you that eye-opening
Mm.
experience to be like, okay, like I need to do both?
Yeah.
Or because like I feel like again, I know we've kind of been talking about it, but just like that mentality, I think at least I felt like this early in my dancing career. It
Yeah.
was like, if you're doing anything outside of dance, like you're
Right.
not a real dancer. And,
Absolutely.
it's a weird taboo thing to have interests outside of dance sometimes. So did you
Absolutely.
feel like even maybe in your PhD too, like there wasn't respect for the opposing side on either sides? Does that make
100
sense?
100%, and it's something that I've really struggled with, and it was incredibly frustrating to me the entire process because in academia, especially in, like, high-level research-driven programs, I ended up going to UCSB for my PhD, which is an R1 research institute. The history program is, like, very, very well respected. I got a lot of funding to go there. It was, like, a big deal that I got into the school. I was working with amazing professors, but, like, nobody else in my program did anything else. That was, like, their whole focus, and that
Yeah.
is not a critique. That's just, like, the norm and the
Yeah.
expectation, but, like, I always, like, joke that, like, my PhD was my hobby, like, dancing and choreographing is my career, and my PhD is my
Well,
hobby
the
because
PhD is, like, such a big deal too. Like, that
Thank you.
I know
Thank you.
you're not, like, really actually underplaying
Thank
it,
you.
but also wanted to chime in, like, that is
Thank
I
you.
could never imagine. Like,
It
that's
was it was a lot of work for sure, and the most difficult part of it was the fact that I was like, "I really love this." Like, it was the hardest thing I've ever done for sure, but I also, like, really loved it. It allowed me to, like, live all over the world. I lived in France, I lived in Scotland, I got to
mm,
travel so much, like, it was great. It also, like, allowed me to teach. I was a teaching assistant, I could teach my own courses, so it really did a lot for me, but the hardest part was the fact that people were so confused that I had this whole other career, and also I could not have afforded to just have been a graduate student. Like, even with your funding and your TA salary, it's, like, not enough money to live on. Like, I
yeah.
actually don't know how a lot of my peers were living, and I think some of them were partnered, and so, like, they were splitting things, but I actually couldn't have afforded to live there if I didn't have a full-time other teaching and dance career. So I used to get so frustrated when people would be like, "Well, what do you mean you can't go to this conference or you can't do that because you have to work?" And I'm like, "No, because I have to work."
You're like,
Like,
"Could you tell me your secret? Because I don't know what's
totally,
going on."
totally. And I'm like, "I think you guys are just maybe living with less money than I am." And, like, I'm not doing that. I have a lifestyle that I like to maintain, and, like, I'm gonna work to do it, and I also like it. So, I think that part of it was hard. I will say I don't ever get the people in the dance world, you're right. They're like, if you're not dancing full time, you're not a real dancer.
Yeah.
If you're not getting paid to dance full time, blah, 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 all that stuff. Which, like, I'm lucky that I have done that for my adult life. But sometimes you do get this confusion from people when they're like, wait, what do you mean you have a PhD in history? And, like, they're like, I just don't they don't understand because, like,
Yeah,
a
like
lot
the
of these kids
disconnect. Yeah.
didn't even go to school, which, again, not a critique, but just a different pathway. So they're like, "What do you mean you have a bachelor's and a master's and a PhD? Like, how did you do that?" And I'm like, "I just worked all the time," which is, again, fine. Like, it's just a different choice, you know?
Which is funny though, because I do feel like dancers are also working all the time, but
Totally.
just in different like,
Yes.
maybe in different jobs and maybe in jobs they're not as passionate about because
Right.
I say it all
Exactly.
the time where it's like you can love performing, but maybe you don't like teaching and vice versa. So it's
Correct.
but a lot of times you have to have a little bit of both or,
Absolutely.
judging, choreo
Yes.
whatever.
Right.
So
Right.
it's just like,
Yeah.
okay, why are we doing that? But
I
that's okay.
know. But like you
Oh,
said, they like, a lot of people in the industry don't want you to be a full rounded person. Like, you're supposed to just be the dancer, the singer, the actor, and, like, fit into those categories. But what I'm constantly finding as I get older too is that, like, my work as a historian, like, deeply informs my practice as a choreographer.
Mhm.
I just have a residency coming up where I'm making a show that's based on a lot of my PhD research, so it's like, they actually can really talk in dialogue with one another, and I think
Yeah.
it makes me a more rounded person because
Which
I've
I really wanna get into. I know I know it's a dance podcast, but, like, listen, I I mean, when I met you too, I was like, "That is so cool." I was like, "Tell me more." Okay,
Thanks.
I can't even say this word, what your
Okay.
dissertation was. The demonal can you say it
That's
for
right.
me?
That was
The
it.
demonological that's how you say it? Republic of Letters, judges,
Mhm.
lawyers, and demonologists in early modern Europe.
Yeah,
Like, can you give me, like, a cliff notes of that? Because
totally.
that is so sick.
Absolutely. So it is a series of 6 case studies that looks at judges and lawyers and demonologists, which is just a fancy term for people who studied the practice of witchcraft and the supernatural in the early modern period, which is like loosely 1450 to 1789 in Europe. That's what we call the early modern period.
Okay.
So it's 6 chapters, and each one is on a different person who wrote books about these topics. And I look at the evolution of a judicial culture surrounding how to prosecute cases of witchcraft. And I compare Catholics and Protestants and some Presbyterians and just kind of how their religion influences their views on these things and how they were
Mhm.
reading and writing and responding to one another to create what I call a textual community of authors. So that's the Cliff Notes version.
That's so cool. Well, because I mean, I don't know how much this goes into history, but like the meeting of the different like worlds in that way of
Mhm.
all the things, and I'm like, I've always been fascinated, but also very scared because I think of I'm like, again, know nothing, but just the whole concept of witches and how, if I
Yes.
lived in a different century, you could blink and get
Absolutely.
killed. Like
Absolutely.
I just think that's so fascinating on that level.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
Well,
also can see how it very much intertwined with your choreography because it's rooted in I have my notes. Rooted because otherwise I'll butcher, like, my words.
you're good.
Rooted around women's bodies being evaluated, consumed, and judged, which
Yeah,
is, like also you had mentioned too that performance is a mode of knowledge
yeah.
a mode of knowledge producted
Right.
production. Oh my god,
You got
words.
it.
You're like, "I can speak better
Sorry,
than
I
you too."
know, I always type too much in question.
No, it's because I haven't been back to school like you have. But anyways, how can you describe a little bit, again, cliff notes of how it
Yeah.
informs I mean, it's pretty obvious how it could inform that, but were, like, some specific cool findings that have helped
Yeah.
shape that for you?
Totally. So I think what's interesting to me about it is just kind of this consistent through line of the shame and control surrounding the body. Obviously, the witchcraft trials in Europe were highly gendered, and in general, women were killed more often than men. It depends on where you're looking. In Iceland, and in areas of the Holy Roman Empire, there's actually higher numbers of men that were accused and killed for witchcraft. But in general, in Europe, it was like a female rooted crime. But I think for me, what's appealing about trying to think about this in terms of a choreographer is that it's just really breathing life into forgotten stories. So the show that I'm creating right now is called Sorcière, which is the French word for witch. And I'm looking at a specific case from Dijon in 1620. And I'm not following the case exactly. I'm not creating like a storybook ballet about a witchcraft trial, but I am looking at how this idea can create a larger narrative that's then told through dance. So it's got the accused witches as characters, it has the alchemist as a character, it has the devil as a character, it has demons as characters. And I'm just kind of trying to see if I can like bring this to the stage. It's the same
Yeah.
thing to me as someone putting The Tempest on stage or Macbeth or Sleeping Beauty, right? So it's just a story that I'm going to use as my narrative background to then try to create movement. Uh,
Yeah. Would you say that this work and more works where you're, like, heavily relying on a specific story are
mm,
more contemporary or more, like, theater-based? Because when you say
yeah,
there's characters, is
right.
it, more like, oh, when you're in a show and you're, like,
Totally.
a clear character versus a little
Thank you.
more no,
Yeah.
like, okay, obviously, that's what you're
You
supposed to
know,
be versus a
right.
little more of the contemporary route
Yeah, I
approach.
think I like to think of it more as like dance theater. I really love works like stuff from NDT obviously is like
Mhm.
the be all end all for me. I really love Crystal Pite. And so I like choreographers like that because I think that they take really, really technical movement and then invert a lot of the technicality of it, but then they use contemporary movement to also tell like a theatrical story.
Mhm.
I love like the standard contemporary modern piece where you're like, this is maybe not about anything, and it's like ambient music and people are rolling around. Like I love that stuff. Like don't get me wrong, but I also find that that's not what like fuels my creative
Mhm.
soul. And I often find too that when audiences watch things like that, that I see people kind of start to detract if they're not like in the dance community, because they don't appreciate the
Yeah.
physicality of it. They're kind of just like, I don't know, people were rolling around.
No,
So
that's
like,
so real. Like I and not this doesn't make my mom, I'm sorry when she listens to this, but like when I cuz my college program was very heavily modern based and she
totally.
would be like, "I wish they would write something in the program because she's like, I liked it, but like I didn't understand what
Yeah,
it was about." And she
totally.
doesn't come from an arts background. So
Yeah.
I love that it's like something a little bit more tangible that
Yeah.
can appeal
Yeah.
to everyone, especially
Right.
when we're in an age where people I feel like are like
Yes.
forgetting about like live theater and live performing
Absolutely.
arts, so it's like, how do we keep them
Yeah,
engaged?
and it's also, like, I think we sometimes also don't give audiences enough credit. People are like, "Oh, they need to be, like, spoon-fed what the story is," and it's like, no, actually, I think that people are pretty good at understanding what you're trying to say. You just need to, like, give them a few little, like, snippets of stuff.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
or you need to give them movement that feels like it creates some sort of visceral reaction. There needs to be something that even though, like, we are really impressed by someone doing like a grand plie in fourth position,
Yeah.
like or like some beautiful contraction, your like regular degular that's walking down the street doesn't realize like the hours that have gone into that person learning how to do a
Ugh.
contraction. So
Yeah.
it's so hard to navigate that line. It's something that I'm constantly struggling with because it's like, how do you make something still like high level art, like whatever that means, but then
Yeah.
also something that people want to buy a $45 ticket to who like know nothing about dance.
Right, and I think it's
What the answer is? I'm trying to figure it
you're
out.
you're well, and it's that merge of your worlds again too, right? You're not just
Yeah,
like, "Oh, well, I'm an artist, and if you don't get it, like, it's because 'cause you're not a dancer." It's like,
totally.
why can't it be for everyone, and
Right.
why are we
Yeah.
boxing certain people into, like,
Right.
certain categories in that way,
Absolutely.
which is, like, so cool. I did also wanna, like, talk a little bit about your, France, like, archival
Yeah.
trip as well because fun fact, I actually one of my goals for 2026, I took French in high school. I was like,
Okay.
I'm gonna learn French. Have I done anything for it yet? No, haven't. But
Okay.
like you're kind of inspiring me.
Duolingo.
I went okay, do you recommend? Because I went to Paris
Yeah.
and I was going around, I literally was being so annoying. I was like, "Je suis français." And my
Yeah.
husband was like, "Stop."
Absolutely.
Like, he's like, "Okay, we get it. Like, that's
Yeah.
fine." Because he took Spanish. So anytime we go somewhere where it's like Spanish is the native language, he tries to like act like he can speak it well.
Right,
And so
right.
I was
Yes.
trying to, but
Yeah.
anyways, I wanted to hear a little bit more about that. And if there were any like cool things that obviously there were cool things you found, but
Yeah.
anything specific and that maybe changed your approach
Mm.
to like choreography specifically, or if it just like opened your eyes to something in the
Yeah.
history manner.
Well, the France trip was great. Other than my marriage falling apart while I was there, it was really great. That's a side note. Um,
Oh, great.
right, I know. It was one of the most, like, difficult times of my entire life because my personal life was falling apart. But it was also, like, when I look back on things in my life that have really shaped who I am as a person, my year living in France is definitely up there. I was working in the National Archives in Paris, which was incredible, very difficult, but really incredible. I worked at the Richelieu Library as well. My lucky thing about working in my archives was that I was actually supposed to do my Fulbright in 2020. And then it got pushed obviously because of COVID. So I had to do a lot of prep during 2020 before I went on my Fulbright in 2021. So normally I
Yeah,
would have like won the Fulbright and kind of known what I wanted to look for and then gone and like, found more stuff. But because I had a whole year to prep for it, I kind of knew exactly what I wanted to look at in the archive when I was there. So I didn't
that's
really
nice.
find anything new. I mean, I
Okay.
found a few things here and there that were really helpful, but I really knew what I wanted to look at before I went. I think what really affected me the most living in France was the dance classes that I took while I was living
That
there.
was my next question was like,
Yeah.
what did your dance
Yep.
career look like for that year?
I After stepping away from ballet, I took a lot of ballet when I was younger. I took a lot of ballet when I was in college. I love ballet. I took a lot of ballet when I lived in Boston. But after stepping away from it for a while, I started taking ballet 6 days a week when I was living in France, and it was at this incredible studio in the Marais, and the studio is literally in a, like, 15th century building. The ceilings are huge, there's wooden beams,
Whoa.
there's, like, old paintings on the ceilings, and it was just, like, I would take, like, beginner, intermediate ballet. I rarely took advanced. They're open classes, and I went 6 days a week, and it was also French style ballet, which I was not trained in, like, at all. I grew up, like,
Wait,
Vaganova more so.
what did it look like differently?
Yeah, it's the French school, so the system is just a little bit different. The port de bras are different, some of the épermonts are different. A lot of the
Oh,
names for petit allegro is also different.
that's confusing when you're
Which
trying to learn a petit allegro
there were some steps that
combo.
I was like, "I've literally never seen that before. I don't know what that is." Um, it was very kind of, like, flighty, like, beautiful, delicate, like, when you think of the French school, that's what they all
Yeah,
look like. So it
yeah,
was very much that, and I was more of, like, a power, like, I'm like a turner. I love big jumps. I love grand allegro. So that was new for me, just, like, technique-wise,
yeah,
which was fun and really good for my brain, but it just, like, made me realize that no matter what is, like, happening in my personal life, that dance is the thing that I can come back to, because it's, like, really hard to think about and be upset about your marriage falling apart while you're trying to do a développé. Like, I was like, I gotta, like, breathe and, like, think about a lot of other things. So it really became a safe haven for me every day, where I could just escape and, like, go to class and
yeah,
remember that even though I was in France to do archival research and I wasn't dancing for the company anymore, that, like, I could still dance every day and I could still stay in shape. And that was obviously really important
yeah.
to me. So,
Well, I was gonna say too, like, I feel a lot of things.
yeah,
Um, I feel that dance often is, like, the reason people are like, "I need a break," and, like, that is causing them to, like, kinda spiral, and I also the whole marriage thing too, like, if you were maybe not in France and maybe in a different environment where you had maybe more friends or family nearby and
right.
you had, like, other outlets, do you think you would have utilized dance in the
Yeah.
same way?
Yeah, I mean, I had no one. I was there alone with my partner and our 2 cats. So I really had
Which
no one,
full
and
custody, right?
yes, full
Okay,
custody of
thank
the
God.
cats. Like, one of them's asleep on the bed right now, the other one's up in the loft.
Nice.
Yeah, and I didn't tell anyone what I was going through either. I kept everything really hidden because I was ashamed and embarrassed, and so I was really trying to, like, work through things and fix things with my partner, but I just, like, couldn't do it, and it was really, really terrible. And so I think, yes, I ran a dance because I, like, had no one, but I think honestly, even if I had been back in California or if I'd been in New York, I think I still would have run a dance because it's kind of what I always run to. My biggest fear is not being able to dance, like, knock on wood. It's getting injured or something like that, and I
Mhm.
know that people have to step away at times, and I respect that and I understand that, but for me, it's usually when I'm going through something that I have to, like, lean in more. And I actually find that when I'm going through something, if I, like, make, a combo for my classes at Steps or something, like, there's so many combos that people at Steps have done about my dead dad. Like, every week I'm like, "One day I'm gonna stop making dances about my dead dad, but it's not today.
Not
Not
today, guys.
yeah."
Lock in.
I think the response that I get from people is that they like that because they're like, "I like that there's, like, a reason behind this movement. I like that you're telling us why you made this." So, yeah, I think stepping away for some people is helpful, and maybe there will come a time when I do need to step away from it, but more than anything, I actually feel like I'm at this, like, very big turning point in my career where I'm getting more and more of these choreographic opportunities and more opportunities as a performer, and so I actually feel like if anything right now I'm leaning in, like, even more,
Even
and I
more.
I feel like I'm at, like, my technical height of my career, and yeah, so I think I'm a leaner inner. Is that a
Lean
word?
uh,
A lean inner.
it is now.
We'll
It
go
is
with
now. You're the doctor here.
that.
You say whatever you want and I'll believe you. But
Exactly. Yeah.
well, that I think too, having that emotional piece of it can also be more vulnerable and, like, more scary.
Absolutely.
Do you feel like you seem like you're just like, "No, like, I just create and, like, this is my love." Did you ever slash do you ever have any insecurities or fear, or
Mhm.
did you and you, like, got over it? Because I feel for so many people, it's scary enough just to put yourself out there
Right.
in that way, but then let alone when you have an actual vulnerable piece attached to it,
Yeah.
or does it take away some of it because you're like, "I'm not trying to impress you, like, this is just
Totally.
me."
Yeah. I mean, I think I think for me is I'm really an open book. I'm like, I will tell anyone anything they wanna know about me. There's not really anything that I'm like, I don't wanna talk about this because I just feel like I've, like, kind of been through a lot of stuff, and I just I don't know, I don't feel the need to, like, hide that from anyone, and I kind of what I tell myself too is that, like, if someone is gonna think badly about me or, like, judge me or have negative thoughts about me for what I've been through, that's, like, not really any of my business, and also to me,
Sure.
that's a reflection upon them, and, like, why would you ever, you know I don't know, that's just to me, that's a reflection of their understanding of themselves and the world, and
Yeah.
so I'm like, I have no problem sharing the things that I've been through, and like I said, I think it really enriches my choreography. I think, like you said, being vulnerable is very scary, but it's also, like, really powerful, you know?
Freeing a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, because I'm also just like I always, like, laugh with my friends, and I'm like, after what I went through, it's, like, really hard to hurt my feelings, you know? Like, I'm
You're like,
like
"My talk about thick skin."
no, exactly.
Oh,
I'm like, literally in the year that I turned 30, I, like, left my abusive marriage. My dad died, my grandmother died, my dog died, and then I moved back from France to the US and then from California to New York. So that was a big year for me,
no, like,
you know?
truly, if you can get through that, what can you not get through? Because that
Yeah,
is first of all, I'm sorry, also, that is just, like, not it.
yeah, what a life to live.
But you may yeah, I guess we all have to find our trauma somewhere, I guess,
Totally.
because you like,
Totally.
I feel like you've had a relatively healthy relationship with dance, so
Yes.
you're like,
Yeah.
the world's like, "Mm-mm, we gotta try to bring you
Yeah,
down in some way."
yeah.
No,
You know,
that's
I feel
terrible.
like my, like, issues in my relationship with dance are kind of what a lot of people deal with, and that it's like, you know, you get to the end of a really exciting Broadway callback and then you don't book. And it's like, well, why? Like, why not me? Why isn't it my turn? And it's like, you never know. You're too short, you're too tall, you're a brunette, they want a blonde, vice versa. The costume doesn't fit you. Someone doesn't like you.
Yeah.
Like you never know. Someone
Yeah.
doesn't like your singing voice. Someone loves your singing voice. Or your partner that they're gonna have you dance with needs to be 6 inches taller than you and he's only 5 and like you literally never know.
No, you never know.
I think that's my struggle in my relationship with the industry is, like, I feel like I'm good at my job. I feel like I'm a hard worker. I feel like I have the training. So it's like, okay, well, like, when is it my turn to be on Broadway?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just I just keep doing what I know how to do, which is to teach and train and stay on top of my stuff and
Yeah,
hope that it will work out, because
and it will work out. It's all
that's
you
all
can do. Well,
yeah.
do you feel like there is a not disconnect is the wrong word, but, like,
Mhm.
I feel like you were on this, like, trajectory for
Yeah.
all of your choreography and stuff. Do you ever are you still auditioning actively, or are you kind of
Mhm.
putting that on holds, or how do you feel
No,
about
I
that?
am, and that's maybe that's actually a good disconnect for me to talk about, is that a lot of people want you to either be a choreographer or a dancer,
Mhm.
and that's fine, and I get that, but I
More
am both.
boxes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and, like, I am both, and I really pride myself on the fact that I, like, continue to train and am in like I said, I feel like I'm in, like, my peak shape, like, technically for my life,
Mhm.
but also my peak shape, like, mentally and as an artist. So I'm like, I actually feel like I have a lot to give. If someone wants to give me a job, I'm available. Um, but I think that, yes, there are a lot of people that are like, "Oh, well, like, you're in your 30s and now I'm 34, so I'm technically in my mid-30s." That's when people start to shift away from performing and more into the teaching and choreography, and I'm like, I feel the opposite. I'm, like, ready to do 8 shows a week. That's what I want. I wanna, like, show people that I have something to say. So just because I also have something to say as a choreographer doesn't take away that I have something to say as a dancer.
Yeah, which I feel like so many people are gonna be so happy to hear because also, since when is it everyone's business, like, how
Yeah,
old someone is when they're audition like, it shouldn't
totally,
matter as
totally.
long as you're able and capable and fit the role, like, why
Yeah,
does it matter? Where I know some people are often afraid, and I feel like maybe it's the fear even more so than,
yeah,
"Oh, I can't do it anymore," but it's that
right,
fear of like, "Oh, I'm gonna be too old, and if I put too much more time into this,"
totally.
whatever
Yeah,
the scenario is, which is
right.
just, like, so far from the
Yeah,
truth. Ugh.
right.
Well, I
And I
did
get
wanna
those thoughts. Like, I do
yeah.
often sometimes I look around in an audition room and I'm like, "I think I'm, like, the oldest person in here." And I'm not. I have to remember that, like, I'm not. I have a lot of peers that are my age, a few years older than me, a few years younger than me, and, like, I will also say that as I have gotten older, I find myself gravitating more towards watching other dancers that are also, like, late 20s, 30s, late 30s, because I feel like I watch them dance and I'm like, that's like a person. That's like a whole rounded artist that has like something to
Mhm.
say, and they're so in their body and they've like been through stuff. And so they move in that way.
Yeah.
Watch these 20-year-olds who, don't get me wrong, I love them and they are whacking their faces and they're stunning. Like I really enjoy watching them as well. But as I've gotten older, I do tend to gravitate more towards people that are a little bit more my age. And when I cast people for my shows, I tend to cast people that are more mature movers because I just think
Yeah.
they fill my movement better. But
No, 100%.
we'll fill the
Because
rest.
I know and it kind of feeds back into the whole idea, especially as younger people, when you aren't able to think as much for yourself of like,
Right.
"Oh, I have to be dancing, that's all I can do." And I say that to people all the time too, like, you as a human is going to inform your movement, your dancing, even if it's not,
Yes.
even if you're auditioning for something or trying to be in something that's not maybe as deep
Yeah.
or emotional as a
Yeah.
lot of the things that you do, but it's still you move
Right.
in a different ways. What would you say to someone who is like that age and what they could do to like, I don't wanna
Mm,
say speed up that process,
no,
but
totally.
it
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what I tell young dancers now, like when I teach at convention, my like number one piece of advice that I give is to train in as many styles as you can. I do think that that really deepens your like higher ability.
Mhm.
Um, I will say that there is so much contemporary movement on Broadway right now, and sometimes I am in like Broadway callbacks or Broadway invites with people who are like musical theater dancers
Mhm.
and they like don't know how to go to the floor. Like they're like, if there's floor work, I'm out. Like I
That's
cannot.
me.
Right.
Oh, like,
Yeah.
I've, like, blacked that out of my
Right.
memory,
Right.
but
No,
that's, like,
exactly.
for other reasons as well, but, like,
Right, yeah. You
yes.
also were, like, on the trajectory of, like, wanting to be a Rockette, you know? So, like,
Right,
you
yeah.
also knew that was where you wanted to go, whereas, like, other people who are trying to audition for Broadway shows, I'm like, "You can't work for Sonia Taillé if you don't have contemporary
Mm-mm.
training. You can't work for Fabian if you don't have that kind of contemporary training." So, I think, like, I mean, you know, like, Camille, all these people that are doing this incredible work that some of it is jazz, some of it is contemporary, some of it is hip hop, some of it is street jazz, like, it's just a little bit of everything. And my biggest regret as a dancer is that I am a terrible tap dancer. Like, I am
Oh,
so bad. I'm so bad. And there are so many choreographers now that are like amazing choreographers who also want you to be able to tap. And I'm like, I wish. Like,
you
I've
could
tried.
do
I
it.
sometimes at steps, and I'm like, I'm so bad. But it's kind of fun. But
But it's
yeah,
like, yeah, no, but I get, but like you're not confident in
right.
it. What I
No,
also say too, and
no,
people, I think people underestimate too, because I'm always like, yeah, like you should have like goals and whatever, but that doesn't mean never take other classes because
totally.
also for me, like when I was in Chicago, there weren't any jazz classes. And
Right.
if you want to be a rockette, you need to be taking jazz classes, but I would
Yeah.
take hip hop classes
Yes,
because I
exactly.
was like, okay,
Right.
this is gonna help my dynamics, it's gonna help my quick be so like, it's gonna help me, and it's
There's the
also gonna help my
grounding, the
confidence because
patient,
I'm like
expressions. Yes.
yeah, so it's just like and I'm sure it's helped me in ways that I don't even recognize because
Right.
I was able to do that, so it's, like,
Exactly.
not I think even just having intention with why you're taking classes too, like, even a ballet class, you weren't trying to be in a ballet
No,
company,
no,
but
not at
it
all.
serves a purpose. Yeah,
Right,
it just
right,
informs everything, so I feel
absolutely.
like that's such an important
Yeah.
point to make on that. But I did kind of also want to talk about your recent work, which
Yeah,
was insane. It was
you know?
evening length, sold out.
Yeah.
Talk to us about it.
Yeah, it was really great, I'm really proud of it. I feel like normally when I finish work, whether I'm, like, setting work on a company or presenting work on my own or something like that, I'm always like, "Oh, like, I wish I had done this, or I would've changed this, or I would've changed this." And obviously, I have things that I would like to change about it. I would like to have a much larger budget. So if anyone out there is a producer and wants to fund my work, give me a call.
You should, yeah.
Uh, you know, but so this idea came to me. The show is called People, and it's set entirely to music by Barbara Streisand. And this idea came to me a few years ago when I was commissioned to create a piece for Selah Dance Collective in California, and I used a piece of Barbara Streisand music. And I remember thinking like, "Oh man, if I could just like make an entire show to Barbara music, that's just like ideal. Like who doesn't love that, you know?" And so then when I moved to New York, my vocal coach introduced me to another vocal teacher. Her name is Jenna Pastuzek. She's incredible. And she does a one woman Barbara show where she sings through a Barbara
Wow.
catalog. And I went and saw it and I literally just like sobbed the entire
Oh
time.
my
It
god.
was absolutely incredible. And I was like, well, if I ever do the barber show, Jenna has to sing live. Like that's a non-negotiable for me.
The chills I have.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this theater reached out to me last year and they were like, "Hi, we've been following your work. Do you want to present something here? We can host you." And it's a small black box theater in New York. It's really popular. It's called Arts on Site. We love Arts on Site. It's on St. Mark's, so it's like right in the East Village. And I was like, "Yeah, like let's do it. Let's do it." And I can't do anything like simple. So I was
No.
like, I'm making an evening length, basically like musical dance theater cabaret show. So yeah, it's all set to Barbra Streisand music. I had 10 dancers and it looks at the evolution of the female body on stage, basically. And it starts with this idea that you are this young, excited performer that moves to New York and, has these hopes and dreams. And then it goes through working and getting a job in an office building and then falling in love and then finding out that this person is cheating on you and your world falling apart and then your dad dying, and it like goes through all of these things that I've been through contemporary dance. So there's no like lines in that way. It's not like a musical in that
Yeah.
sense. It's really more of, like I said, like dance theater that's been set to live music. But yeah, it kind of just follows this evolution, and the show ends with "Don't Rain on My Parade," and the female dancers are on stage and they're working really hard, and the music ends and they keep dancing rapidly, and the male dancers walk through them downstage, and they end downstage covering up the female dancers with the spotlights on them, like taking the credit for the fact that they've done this show. And the men did like not as much in the show as the female identifying dancers did. Yeah, so it ends hopefully with what I think is this poignant ending about how the fact that women are usually doing the majority of the emotional and physical labor, but they're not necessarily getting the credit for it. So, yeah.
It's so cool. It's
Thanks.
so cool.
Thank you.
If I wish I still lived in New York for that reason,
I
like only
know.
to go see
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
Which maybe one day, I mean, sky's the limit. Maybe one day it'll
Yeah.
be.
I know.
Anyways,
I would love
story
that.
for another time.
No, totally. I'm applying to grants all the time. I would love to. People had, like I said, it was sold out. I had like great, really, really wonderful responses from it, and I would love to put it up again. I just like need the money, you know?
Do you think that you would have been able, not able is the wrong word, but do you think you would have like had the capacity and idea to do that without all of your schooling?
Um, no. No, I don't think so. I think what my PhD more than anything has done, it has taught me to be very rigorous in my research and in my planning.
Mm.
And I'm a very like narrative driven choreographer. So I'm the kind of person that I sit down and I run it like a Broadway show. Like we have every single scene is mapped out, every lighting cue is mapped out, every formation is mapped out, every quick change is mapped out. Dancers get a full binder of all of their spots,
Ugh.
transitions, like
We
everything.
love a type A.
Totally, totally. And I think that is in part due to my nature, but then also into my nurture as a
Yeah.
PhD student. Like
Which is,
yeah, you learn to
yeah.
be really organized.
Yup. And like the storyline too, I feel like you probably
Yeah.
told it in a way that no one else could have told it. Like,
Yeah, I
yes,
think, you know?
it's a little more of a universal thing, but I'm sure
Right.
like there's ways that you don't even realize yourself
Yeah.
that you like that informed your work in that way. If someone was like, "Oh my god, I want to be in her next thing," like, did you hold an open call or how did that work?
Yes, I did. So I did, like, open submissions,
Mhm.
and I actually found some really great dancers. A lot of the dancers that I worked with are my peers who I work with a lot because, that is the other part of the industry is that, like,
Yeah.
truly you get hired by who you know. It's the age-old saying, yes,
Yeah.
saying. It's about who you know. That's 100% true. But I'm always like looking for new people to move with and to create on. And so I did an open submission form and I got like 700 submissions, which was crazy. And so my
Oh.
associate choreographer and I sat in my living room one night for like 3 hours and went through every single one, and I was looking for really specific stuff because I do think that in order to do my movement, you have to have a really, really strong, like, technical ballet foundation, but then you also have to be able to dance in a heel because a lot of my movement is, like, theater jazz based or
Mhm.
influenced, and then a lot of it is very, very contemporary with floor work, so it's like I need you to be able to do floor work in a LaDuca, and that really narrows down.
Truly, like,
Yeah.
your pool of people.
Mhm.
What specifically, other than technical abilities, like, what would make a submission or dancer stand out to you?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest issues when I watch people's reels is that they're way too long. Like,
Mm.
very, very long, and you hear casting directors talk about this a lot, about how they watch, like, maybe 15, 20 seconds of your reel, and so, the first thing I wanna see is I wanna see your face. Like, sometimes
Yeah.
you'll put a submission where their reel is them, like, on a concert stage, and they're super far away, and they're maybe doing something really beautiful, but I'm also like, What do you
Who
who
is
are
it?
you? I need to see your actual face, you know?"
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, your opening shot in your reel needs to be like, "Boom, here I am." Whether or not that's, like,
Yeah.
literally an iPhone that you're, like, dancing in front of or something, or it's professional footage, so,
Well,
yeah,
it's literally
see.
like social media where it's like you need that, like, hook in the
Ab
beginning. Same thing
exactly.
for when you're scrolling through
Absolutely.
700 videos,
Yes.
you're gonna get tired. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then I think it needs to be, like, bing, bam, boom, right away. Give me a leg, give me a turn, give me something on the floor, give me some cool contraction, like, show me a release of your upper body, like, just something right away that I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, got it." I don't
Well,
need
like,
a long
and
break.
range, it sounds like
Yeah,
too, where it's like, if you can
absolutely.
do tap and point
Yes.
and modern, like, show me
Yep.
all of that in the first
Yeah.
few seconds,
Which
ideally
is
would be
really difficult, but then at the same time, I also, like, hate dance reels because then Al Blackstone actually made an Instagram story about this the other day. It's so hard because when you watch a dance reel, it's clips of someone else's choreography that was intentionally choreographed to another song that then get put on, some, like, YouTube like, copy
right.
free song. So then it's really hard because 'cause you're like, "Okay, I'm now watching this person who's, like, probably really beautiful, and this movement probably looked so great when it was
In the
choreographed to
context.
that song."
Yeah.
So I just it's, one of those things that, like, you can't win for losing these days. So
Yeah, it's
which is
just
really
like
negative, but it's just hard. It's hard out
it's
here.
hard. It's hard,
Yeah,
and it's like, I'm sure you also would have loved to do an in-person audition, but, we only
absolutely.
have so much money. We can,
No, exactly. Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
plus then I'm also asking people to take time out of their day. I'm gonna rent a studio space. I'm gonna pay my associate for being there,
Mhm.
and then it's like I'm asking people to take time out of their day to pay to take the train and come in and audition, and, like, that's a financial burden for a lot of people.
It sure is. Do you have opinions on that in other
Yeah,
spaces
I do.
that
I
you
have
want
a
us to
lot.
talk about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that my biggest issue with our industry is that we are really under the current administration especially, we are being asked to work and exist under extreme conditions, and this idea of the starving artist is, like, still very much permeating our industry, and that you should be grateful for the
Mm,
opportunity, should be willing to work for free, for the exposure. And I may
uh,
not be able to pay my dancers a ton of money, but they will never dance for me for free. Whether that's like I can give them $30, whether I can give them $5,000. Like I would love to give them as much money as I possibly could, obviously. But I'm like, but no matter what, you will never dance for me for free. If that's the last thing that I do, you know?
isn't it such a crazy concept of
It's
like
wild.
it is so mind-blowing and such a shame because
Mhm.
it's like the industry is also probably losing so many amazing talents because like people can't do it
Absolutely.
forever because not everyone is smart when they're 18 and goes and gets a second degree in something completely different to support
Totally.
themselves.
No,
And like
totally.
there's not really many other
Right.
industries where you need to do that. Like
No,
you
not at
should be
all.
able to live off of the work
Right.
that you're doing.
Right. Yeah, and it's just this constant narrative that, like, "Oh, well, we chose to be artists, so therefore we should deal with the ramifications of that." And while I understand that, like, we all knew that we weren't gonna most likely be making millions of dollars as dancers and singers and actors, some people obviously are capable of that. It is not the
Yeah.
norm in our industry. I don't think that there's something wrong with wanting to work really hard at a skill and develop your skill set and continue to labor and train at all. Like if you were to say, "Okay, I'm an accountant. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to learn this skill. I'm going to continuously educate myself in this skill. I'm going to work the jobs that are offered to me to exercise my skills, and then I'm going to continue to labor. Please pay me. I'm an accountant. Here's your
Sounds
money."
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why. I mean, I do understand there's many reasons why. Many hundreds of
Well,
thousands of books have been written about why, but it is very difficult, and I think that more than ever, we need people who are capable to donate to the arts
yeah.
because we don't have any funding. We don't have any funding. I mean, Broadway shows are closing left and right because they can't recoup.
It's
So,
and it's just like it drives me nuts, and I feel like I talk to almost everyone who I get to chat with on this podcast about it because it's just like, what is the real solution? But I
right.
think at the end of the day too, a lot of normal people don't
Yes.
maybe recognize how much the arts are infused in things that they're consuming all of
Totally.
the time.
Yeah.
And like it goes just so much for I don't know why for people it's really easy to understand a sports game, but
Right.
not like a commercial. And like
Absolutely.
they
Ab
don't see the
right.
difference in that, which and I understand from a financial standpoint, like, yeah, the sports teams
Right.
we're getting a lot of funding because people are
Right.
paying to go see it, but people
Yep.
don't want to pay to
Well, I mean,
see
according
people
to
like
Timothy Chalamet, right? Like, no one's interested in ballet or opera
no.
anymore. So,
Yeah, who would
you
wanna go
know,
to the
uh-huh.
okay, on
Who would
that though too, where I'm like, I did see another point, which I was like, "That's so real," of like, I mean, I don't expect you to have the answer to this, but like the line of like a lot of these ballets and operas and shows like have to charge more because they
absolutely.
don't have funding, and
Right.
then you're like limiting the people that can afford to go, but then you can't it's like that vicious cycle
Right.
of
It's
like,
the chicken and the egg, right? Like,
you can't
how am I gonna go see Hamilton when the ticket is $400?
and I have to go to New York City and like travel all the way
Exactly.
there,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's
So,
just
yeah,
like
he was wrong in his statement in that people don't care about it. That's where he failed, in that he
yes.
critiqued fellow artists saying that people don't care when I'm like, "I live down the street from Lincoln Center. Those lines are out the door." But he brought up, I think his statement then in turn brought up a better, larger conversation, which is
Oh,
the
yeah.
like, access to these arts are difficult and limited because of financial reasons. So, I
Yeah,
don't
we get
I don't agree with anything that he said, but I am happy that he said it because I think it made
yeah,
people talk about it more.
I agree where I was like, it's honestly it brought attention
Yes.
what is it, like, all press is good press or whatever, but,
Right,
like,
right.
for
Exactly.
us, I guess, in that way, which if anyone listening to this, is or knows someone that knows money and business and knows how to fix this,
Yeah,
DM us
yeah,
because that would be so lovely. Also, I know you had mentioned the pressures of speed and productivity and, like, how are you combating, like, the pace at which just
yeah,
technology and the world is going with trying to still stay intentional with your work so it's impactful and meaningful
yeah.
to you and everyone?
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, I think the thing that I talk about a lot with my associate is that we never have the chance to create work in, like, a company setting. I never have the chance to, like, build a show over a 3-month
Yeah.
period, having my dancers in the studio 6 days a week for 6 hours, where we can do company class, and then we can rehearse, and then we can do partnering, and then we can do a floor work, like, no, that never exists. It's literally me and, like, my group chat being like, "Okay, here's the calendar. Block out your 2 hours this week that we can come together and we can set piece number 1." It's this constant battle of like, "Okay, well, this dancer has to teach Pilates until 5:30 so they can get to the studio at 5:45. But then this dancer, they have to go teach their fitness class at 7:45." So I'm just constantly, like, Google calendaring, like,
Yeah.
to try to make time for everybody to get together because, again, I don't have enough money to pay my dancers to be able to take time off of their other jobs, whatever their
Right.
jobs are, whether that's being a server or a Pilates instructor or a dance teacher or whatever their thing is. So it's this constant game of like, we're creating, even though I might have 3 months until the show opens, I have to work with these time crunches of everyone's schedule and create in this fast paced environment because we can't all afford to have time off to then just create
Yeah.
over like what a luxury, you know?
What a
Can't
luxury.
even imagine what I could make if I was given that amount of time and studio space and dancers and money. Like I just
But never say never.
oh, definitely
Never say
waiting. I'm ready. Like I said, I
she's
have
like,
residency in June. That's a week
"Yeah."
long where I have 4 hours a day for a week, and that feels like just an absolute gift, you
Yeah,
know?
you're like, "What a dream,"
Yeah, and that's
in
just
that
for me.
way.
So, yeah, so I think that that is the issue of the, like, need to produce things quickly is that, again, it's a financial issue,
Yeah.
but then the other side of that is content producing on Instagram and TikTok, and that
Mhm.
is that a lot of people hate being filmed in class, and they hate film dance classes, and I get that. I totally understand that. I think it does very much change the way that you take class, it can affect you very negatively or very positively. But what I say when we film in my classes at Steps is that some people love to be filmed, some people hate to be filmed. It is the nature of our jobs now. And so you have to look at filming as just like another tool in your toolbox. And if you get a video that you love, great. If you get a video that you hate, you never have to put it anywhere. Like
Right.
that is what it is. But I will say part of the reason why my classes at Steps sell out is because I post a lot of videos from my classes. So people see what they're gonna get when they take class from me.
Yep.
I think they like it. They seem to like it. They keep coming
They're
back.
coming out, or
You know?
yeah, they're coming back.
So
Yep.
that is a huge marketing tool for us, but you also have to consistently do it. I'm paying for videographers at least 3 times a month. And then I'm getting that footage out and posting it and tagging it and all these different things. And it's like, again,
Wait, do they? So I thought Steps got the videographers. The
so I don't know if
teachers.
I'm allowed to talk about this.
Well, we can talk about it, and you get back to
Yeah,
me,
and,
and
I'm
if I
not
need
sure
to.
actually. So spotlights at Steps on Broadway are
Yes.
through Steps, and then, they cover 1 videographer within a 30-day period for each teacher.
Oh, well,
But
that seems actually pretty like
totally.
decent, though. Honestly,
No,
yeah, yeah,
totally,
yeah.
it absolutely is. However, I teach 3 classes a week at Steps on Broadway, and I try to film at least 2 combos a month, and I'm usually filming 3 combos a month. So, I'm paying for a decent amount of footage, which is,
Yeah,
again, I am happy to do, and it's part of my job. And it's a burden that I bear knowing that it will return. It will return
yeah.
to
It's
me.
the ROI is
Mm.
good on it.
Yes, exactly. So it's an investment
Yeah,
I am happy to make, but it is, again, this fast-paced environment, post the video, share the video, tag the people. That's just like now part of our job,
yeah.
you know?
Are you? You? I feel like you give like notice to your like classes film today on your
Yes, yeah, I
stories.
try to always post when it's filmed because classes tend to sell out more quickly when they're being filmed because people wanna come to it.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, no, but and that's like it's such a good like thing to hear from
Right.
someone because you see this debate all the
Yes.
time all
Yep,
over the internet. And it's
absolutely.
okay, interesting. Like I'm actually getting paid more
Right,
to pay for a videographer to come
right.
because people it is a tool, but I think you like nailed it. What is the term? Like nailed it on the head or
Hit the
hammered
nail
it
on
on
the
the
head.
head.
There we go.
Yes, that. Oh, thank you. That
Yep.
was good.
Yeah.
But where you said where you're like you come, you use it or you don't,
Yeah,
and
or you
it's
don't.
like getting people more work, but also
Exactly.
like I think people are forgetting too, like that's such a probably a bigger gift to the dancers in your class because
I
now
think
you don't have to rent out studio space. You don't
yeah,
have to hire your own
right,
videographer. You don't have to like come up with material or be like, hey, teacher,
right.
can I use your choreography?
Exactly.
Like it's just like
Yeah.
all built in. And I
Yeah,
think it's so nice to have a time and place, right? Like you can be like,
absolutely.
okay, you know what? Actually, today I don't want to be on camera, so I'm
Oh,
not going
exactly.
to go today.
Yeah, and that's part of it too is that I have a lot of students who are like, "I actually, like, don't wanna be filmed at all." And so, like, on my Friday theater jazz class, when we're filming, there are people that take that class every single week who I know don't wanna be filmed. So we do group 1, 2, 3 filmed, group 4, no filming. And we
Yeah.
take the chance and people will get filmed in group 1, and then they'll come out and dance again in group 4 and not get filmed. And it's like, if you're here to take class, that's great. Like, obviously, that's the point, and just because there
Hmm.
happens to be a camera there that day, I still want you to get a good class. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of us being here is we're training. It's always like, no, class is just like the gym. It's just like you're just consistently going and doing your work. And so I don't want that to change because there is a camera. And
Yeah.
it for a lot of teachers, it really does. And that's again, that's okay. People run their classes how they choose, but I want you
Yeah.
to still make sure that you get a good class,
Do,
even if
do
it
you
is.
feel like if there's a dancer who like doesn't they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna be on any type of TV work." Do you still
Mhm.
think that there is benefit in learning how to be
Mm.
comfortable and confident dancing in front of a camera?
I think so. I also think it's, like, really fun. I'm one of the dancers that I do like to be filmed, and I like to dance in front of the camera. It doesn't mean that I always like my footage and what I get. Like,
Right?
I have a lot of videos that have never seen the light of day and probably never will. But I think it's, like, fun, and I also say to my students a lot that, like, to me, dancing in front of a camera is so much less stressful than being in, like, a Broadway callback and having, like, an entire
For
casting
sure.
team, like, sitting behind the table staring. Like, I've been in castings before or in final callbacks and stuff where there are people sitting behind those tables that are like legends. And I'm like, well, here we go. Like this is the moment. And so I'm like, compared to that, dancing in front of like people who I love, the videographers at Steps are incredible. Like they're such wonderful people. And most of them are also dancers. So I'm like, dancing in front of that camera is like a piece of cake, you know?
Yeah.
I
Well,
know it's that way, but
but it's a tool though too, like you said, a
absolutely.
piece maybe it's not a piece of cake for someone right now, but then
Yes.
it's like such a good, I mean, guilty of it as well. Of like, okay, let me take a step back and think about why. Like, why am I so afraid of this? And like
Yeah.
not running away from it. And it's probably going to tell you something about yourself that
Right.
will probably help you in the long run,
Totally.
which is so cool. How did you get into teaching at Steps?
Okay, so let's see. I started teaching like again when I was 18 at the small studio in Colorado.
Hmm.
And then I just consistently kept teaching. And then I guess it's like 3 years ago now, I was teaching open classes in the city and filming them because that is like kind of the way that you build your clientele. I was filming them and then I was, like, living at I live at Steps. It's, like, my favorite place in the world, and was taking class every day, and one of my friends, was looking for a sub for, like, kind of a long period of time, and she was like, "You should just apply. You should just apply." And I was like, "No, no, I can't. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared." And she was
Hmm.
like, "Just email them and tell them you wanna get on the sub list." And I was like, "Yeah, but, like, who am I? Like, I don't have a Broadway credit." And she was like, "No, but you have a PhD and a Luigi certification, and you've been teaching for 15 years. Like, you're not someone that just has decided to be a teacher. You're
Yeah, like, let me
actual."
just do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, "No, you're a professor. You're an educator. Like, you know what you're doing. You have a ton of certifications." I've taught honestly, at this point in my life, tens of thousands of hours of classes, you know? And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, let me just ask. I'm just gonna ask." And so I just sent an email being like, "Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Like, my name is Dr. Chloe Roberts, blah, 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 blah. I would love to be added to the sub list." And they responded and they were like, "We love that you have a Luigi certification, blah, 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 blah. We'd love to have you like come in and sub a few classes for us." And then I did. And then I I subbed every single class that I could possibly sub for, like, a year. Like, again, it helps that
Wow.
I live around the corner from Steps, so I can literally they can, like, email me and be like, "Can you be here in an hour?" And I'm like, "I'm on my way."
Yeah.
So every class that I could possibly take, I would take, whether that was, like, lyrical, across the floor, theater jazz, jazz, beginner theater jazz, advanced theater jazz, floor work. I think I've subbed, like, contemporary jazz, regular contemporary, theater fusion, like literally everything other than like a tap class or a hip hop class, I have subbed because I was just like, I want to show them that I will show up, that I am reliable, and that I want to also like build my community. And sometimes there were 3 people in my classes, sometimes there are 35 people in my class. Like you just never know.
Oh
And
my
so then
gosh.
eventually last year, they were like, "We'd love to give you a full-time slot on Tuesday nights." And I was like, "I am so proud of myself. Like, this is such a huge career accomplishment, you know?" And like,
Yeah.
I never thought that I would be doing that. And then like a week later, they emailed me again and they were like, "We'd also really love to offer you a theater jazz slot on Fridays." And I was like,
And we'd also love to offer you one more as
"Yeah."
well.
And
They're
so then
like, let me just
next like 2 months, I have another slot on Mondays while Adrian Lee is doing Black Swan. So, yeah, so I've got 3 classes a week now, which is I'm just like so honored that I get to do.
yeah.
And every week I'm shocked when people come. Every single week. I'm
I
like,
get it though.
"Oh,
You're
like
like, "Me? Who, me?
no,
Why do
exactly,
you wanna
yeah."
be here?"
Right, because 'cause
Yeah,
I'm like,
no.
we're just dancing, you know? Like, I'm very, like, not a serious teacher, like, I, like, laugh and we, like, joke around because, like, again, the class and is not fun if you're stressed, you know? It's okay to
Mm-mm.
be stressed because 'cause you're like, "I'm working so hard," and, like, we dance really hard in my classes, we do hard stuff, we are technical dancing, but I'm also like, you can't be good if you're stressed out, like, at all.
Well, because there's good stress and there's bad stress.
Yeah,
Like, let's
exactly.
be like I always
Yeah.
say, it's not that deep.
No, it's not that deep. It's not that
Even your deep pieces
no, it's
are like,
100%.
you know,
They're
like,
dancing.
we're dancing, it's all good.
And it's like,
Well,
it is my true love and my passion, and, like, nothing will ever compare to dance for me other than maybe my cats. But at the end of the day, we're just dancing, you know? And, like
yeah.
and also, most of those people paid I don't even know what it is now, like, $27 to take that class? So I'm like, "This is your good money. I want you to have a nice time."
Yeah. Well, like, because literally, what's the point
What's the
otherwise? But I
ex
also love, I think I kind of, this is a good segue into
Yeah,
just like the last thing I wanted to touch on because I know you judge and do things for
I
like
do.
the next gen, but
Yeah.
like I've noticed as talking with a lot of people that like a big, for lack of a better word, issue
Yeah.
with this upcoming generation is like the instant gratification and like everything should just be handed to them. But like
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
subbed everything for a
Mhm.
year
Mhm.
before, because now people who just are meeting you for the first time, you're like, "Oh, I teach at steps." Like, "Okay, great. She
Yes.
just must have been a
Tot
prodigy and she just like whatever." But it's like, no,
Yeah.
people that's why I'm also passionate about like showing the journey, because I feel like people are so quick to just think that
Absolutely.
everyone just got it.
Totally.
So,
Totally.
would you like to speak on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like not only did I sub for a year, but then also, like I said, I have the much longer history of being an educator. And I think a lot of people are really good choreographers and really good dancers, but that doesn't mean that they're an educator.
Mhm,
And that's okay. You can be really good at all three. You can be really good at just one. Like it's totally all of those are fine. But I am, like, invested in being a good educator. I am invested in, like, constantly training myself. I'm about to do another certification course in June because I'm like, I wanna get better as a dancer, but I also want to be the best possible teacher that I can be. And so, I think that this younger generations, they see the videos on Instagram, you know?
right.
They see
The final takes.
exactly. They just see that. They don't see the hours of training that people put in prior to that. They don't see the fact that they learned that combo 3 weeks ago and they've been working on it for 3 weeks or 2 weeks or whatever that teacher is doing. They don't see the fact that that person got cut from an audition that morning, and
Mhm,
then went in and took this beautiful video. So, I think that my constant narrative that I'm trying to push forth is that it's like, no, you have to do the work. You
mhm.
have to do the work. And
There's no quick, easy fix path,
unfortunately
like,
not.
hack.
Unfortunately not. I mean, I think there may be some exceptions to those rules of people who it's like right place, right time, and it works out
Mhm,
early for them, and that's, again, totally fine, but I think in general, nothing beats the consistent hard work. My yoga teacher always says this mantra, and I love it, but it's that my practice becomes well grounded no, my practice becomes firmly grounded when well attended to, with great enthusiasm, without break, over a long period of time. And every time that this
yeah,
teacher says this, I'm like, "Ugh," because you're always needing one of those things. You're
mhm,
too tired, so you wanna take a break, which breaks are good, but sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, "No, you gotta go."
yeah,
Sometimes you've lost the enthusiasm. You're like, "This is really hard. Am I ever gonna book the job? Am I ever gonna be the Rockette? Am I ever gonna book Broadway? Am I ever gonna book the tour?" Who knows?
mhm,
So sometimes you have to, like, reignite your enthusiasm,
yep.
and then you have to also, like, make sure what is it? Well, firmly grounded when well attended to. So you're
For a
going
long period.
for and then for a long period of time. That's the final piece. For a long period over a long period of time.
Mhm,
And
the
that
long
is
period.
it's
And
hard.
and
Well,
that's why also, I'm sure you preach as well, I'm always like, you have to, like, make your if you don't, either make yourself or pick something else, you have to love the journey. You have to, like, love the
absolutely.
practice of it, you have to love getting better at it, and
Yep.
because if not, and because it's not gonna end when you, like, get to, like, your end
No.
goal. Like, you
No.
still have to be working.
Absolutely.
It's still hard work. It's still
Totally.
even
Right.
where you're at, yeah, you're still
Grind.
whether it's the budget piece or the casting piece or
Yep.
the inspiration, like, there's just so
Absolutely.
many things that go
Absolutely.
into it. I
I have
love
2 friends that made their Broadway debuts last year that when their shows closed, they haven't worked since, and they are incredibly talented, and it's just like, well, it's just not the right time for them
yeah,
until it is, So it's like you said, you might book the job, and you talk about that a lot, right? That, like, you
yeah,
booked the job and then you did it, and then, okay, now what's next?
yeah, what like, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with yeah, it's like learning to listen to, like, what you actually love,
Yep.
which is when I love hearing stories like yours too, where you're like, "Yeah, I just liked learning about history. I just liked doing this, so,
Right.
like, I did it."
Yep.
Where I feel like life could be so much simpler. I mean, obviously, there's, like, some you gotta, like, live and be able to support yourself, but to a general like, as long as you're not gonna be on the streets, like,
Yeah.
starving,
You gotta make it work.
literally yeah, you make it work, but, like, we don't have to do what we think
No.
we, like, have to do.
The thing that I will say about, like, competition dance is that I and people talk there are so many podcasts about this. I just, like, don't wanna see any tricks. If I never see any sort of, like, front aerial headstand ever again, I will be so happy.
The headstand.
Yeah,
All
shake stand. I'm good.
every time I hear someone say this, though, it, like, heals the inner child in me a
Yeah,
little bit because I was like, "Oh, can't do anything."
totally, totally.
Like, but
Yeah,
also doesn't matter,
yeah.
and a
Like,
lot of
and
the girls that can
see
do that, they don't
right.
dance anymore.
No, exactly, and same with, like, à la seconde turns and fouette turns. Like, I have never once watched someone's, like, solo or group dance where I've been like, "Oh, you know what I need right now is an à la seconde turn section." Not once. You're
That's a missing ingredient.
they've never made me feel something other than usually they're bad. They're, like, technically lacking, so then they make me actually have, like, a negative reaction. So I think that, like, as a judge and convention teacher, that would be my advice to everyone is, like, please stop. You know
PSA.
what I mean? But I would so much rather see someone do, like, a beautiful contraction or, like, a plie chaîné, like, spiral or, like, a lateral T, like or, like, step with a turned out foot.
What a concept, not a heel toe, a toe heel even
Yeah,
getting
any of
okay,
those. Like, I'm so down for any of that.
I did have a good question, which
Oh, tell me.
I don't even know how to word this right,
Okay.
but thinking about competition dance, I've seen
Yeah.
it, like, so much more, like, people talking about it. I'm like, have we lost the plot in the sense of, like it's hard because there's not anything that's really a direct comparison because
Mhm.
dance, is an art, and then
Yes.
it's, like, made into a sport more
Right,
so with competitions, but
right.
it's like, is there maybe it's just this change in narrative because I grew up at a studio that we went to competitions, but we weren't like a competition studio.
Yeah,
We
that's how I
were
was too.
like a very technically like
Yeah,
focused studio, and we honestly looked at it as more just experience and
totally.
more opportunities to perform.
Yeah,
Whereas like that's very much not the case. And I do recognize that not every kid growing up wants to then be a professional dancer.
right.
So it's like I can see it's fun, and I think there's, like, rec
Yeah.
whatever category, but I'm even talking, like, more than that, where I'm like,
Yeah.
is it just that we need to, like, make it more black and white that, like, hey, all the things that, like, everyone's stressing out
Yeah.
about at competitions, like, actually doesn't really matter, but it's
Well,
okay if you wanna do it for fun, like,
right.
fine,
I
but
know.
then, like and also you don't have to know if you wanna dance professionally when you're
Yeah,
10 years old, like,
right.
ugh.
I think I think my point of view on that is that what I always tell my students is, like, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna do it to the best possible quality that you can.
Mhm.
That might be different from that is different from student to student. It's also different from studio to studio. But I'm like, I, as an educator, will not allow you to be mediocre in your work ethic.
Mhm.
You don't have to have the most perfect technique of all time. You won't have the most perfect technique of all time. No one has that.
Mhm.
But you will have the most excellent and hardworking technique that you personally can have in your body while you're my student. Because I think more than anything, dance really teaches people resilience. And it also, like, I sometimes look at my 6-year-olds that go on stage and do their solos, and they are perfectly coiffed. They have on their beautiful clean costume. They have on their correct makeup. They have on their correct shoes. They have on the correct jewelry for their team. They go out there, they know their entrance, they do their beautiful solo, they take their bow, and they exit quickly. And I'm like, that 6-year-old just behaved professionally in a way that
Correct?
many adults cannot do. And so I'm like, if that again, there doesn't need to be an aerial, there doesn't need to be a front walkover, none of those things. They need to do their job because it is their job, right? Their
Right.
job at 6 years old or 12 or whatever is to go out there and do the best that they can. So they're gonna do that. They're gonna be respectful. They're going to support their teammates. They're gonna be kind to their parents. They're gonna be kind to their teachers. And then like whether or not they choose to dance in real life after school, that's not up to me, you know?
Right.
But I want them to be prepared that if they do make the decision to do that, that I've done everything I can to make sure that they are as successful as they can be if they do make that decision.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's fair.
yeah.
I guess it's like anything too. I'm like really trying to put myself back in my younger age and like how the
Mhm.
world was. And I'm sure it's evolved now too, where I'm like, I guess it's kind of similar if you were playing baseball and then you
Totally.
were playing rec and then you're like, wait, I actually want to be serious.
Yes.
And then you research and you join a travel team and like you do all of that. Where I think maybe, and again, not speaking from experience, but maybe the misconception is that there's just not enough research being done maybe by some
Yeah.
parents nowadays where it's like they think that this is the end all be all where it's and
Exactly.
it's totally valid. Like there's so much information out there, but it's just like, hey, like let's I like to look at competitions too. I think of it as like resilience in the fact of like that's very could be very comparable to auditioning when you're an adult because
Absolutely.
you're
Absolutely.
gonna go and do your best and sometimes your best ain't good enough.
One
Like
no, 100%, and I always say to my students too, I have a colleague in New Jersey that I teach with, and she always is like, "It's 3 people's opinions," you know? And, like, sometimes those opinions are great, and you're happy to hear them, and sometimes you don't wanna hear those opinions, and they can be really hurtful, and that is exactly what it's like being an auditioning working dancer in New York, LA, Chicago, where
yep.
you know?
Welcome.
Exactly.
Welcome. And like the bias that exists in competition judges, it's like the same thing as casting directors because
Absolutely.
again, yeah, like I could go audition for Alvin Ailey and I would be cut, but then
Right.
I auditioned for the Rockettes and I was what they
Yeah.
needed. You know, so it's
Yeah.
just like
Yes.
you don't know if the judge is
No.
prioritizing technique
No.
or style
Right.
or like there's just so many things. And it's like also not everyone needs a participation
No,
trophy.
not at
And
all.
sorry,
Not
get off my I'll
no,
get
I feel
off
the
my
same way.
high horse.
I have 2 rules for my competition students. Rule number 1 is that you don't cry unless you're injured. If you're injured, you're allowed to cry. You don't cry because you've lost. You don't cry because you're being hard on yourself. We don't cry for attention. That does not fly. You do not cry. You accept your award, you smile, you say thank you, you leave. Like that's it. The end.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is that you do not speak badly to your parents or guardian or whoever is with you. If I hear students speaking back to their parents, I pull their solos. I'm like, you do not get to compete if you speak like that to your parent. Absolutely not. And so I'm like, that to me is valuable training. I'm like, you will be respectful and you will also at the end of the day remember that like it's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to have a good
N
time.
not you having those parents are probably like, "Thank you so
Oh,
much.
no,
I
they
don't know
always
how to
joke.
control."
They're like, if my child is gonna misbehave at home, I always say to them, like, "Do you want me to call Miss Chloe?" Because I'm like,
Honestly, I
"No."
love
I'm
that.
like, "You're so lucky to have a parent that will support you and take you to do this." Like, do you know how many kids like, they have, 30 costumes. I'm like, "Do you know how many kids would kill to have 1 costume
Yep.
and perform 1 dance?" So I'm like, "No.
Man,
You will be
you will be
happy
res
and grateful." And that is the end of that because at the end of the day, we're just dancing. We're just
it's
dancing.
not that deep. It's
No,
not that deep.
I
Oh,
it's not that deep.
wow. You were changing the next generation in more ways than one. I am
They're like, "I have this really mean teacher named Miss Chloe, and she doesn't let me cry."
you're like, "No, you can feel your
Totally.
emotions, but,
Please
like
feel them. Please feel
but
them. It's
not
the
but
thing
don't
where,
get upset about that."
1 11-year-old starts crying, and next thing you know, they're all crying. And I'm like,
That's why I give, educators both in, like, just life and dance so
Yeah,
much props because I'm like,
yeah.
I know I would not have the patience for that.
It's a hard
So,
job. It's a hard job.
you
Yeah.
have so many hard jobs. I'm obsessed. Oh my god. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm so happy we did this.
Me too.
We're gonna get into our closing because
Okay.
I could talk your ear off and
Yeah.
ask you a million more
Fun.
questions, but, um, I have something in the works
Okay.
mentally that we'll talk about after though, so that
Okay, great.
you'll be back one day. Um, if you had to give your younger self one piece of advice in hindsight,
Mm.
obviously it's 2020, what would it be?
About dance?
About anything.
Yeah, I think about dance, I would probably just tell myself, like, "Just keep going to class. Just keep going to class. Like,
Mm,
you'll get there."
yeah.
And just I know that sounds, like, so maybe silly. It's like, "Just go to class." But honestly,
Mhm.
like, that is it. Just, like, go to
No, it's
class.
real.
Just go to class. That's it.
I I feel that. I
Yeah,
even as an adult, like, stopped, was afraid to go
totally.
to class, so it's just
Yeah,
sometimes, like, it's okay to
okay, just go to
did you
class.
did you have relationship advice you wanted to give to your younger self?
Oh my god. Leave him.
Notice the first red flags.
Correct. Yeah.
Don't ignore flags.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, if you wanted a listener to remember one thing from our
Mm,
conversation today, what would be your most important takeaway?
mm. That you can be a whole being, that
Mm,
being a dancer can be your main being, or being a choreographer can be your main being, but you can also have other things. You can be a teacher, you can be a yogi, you can be a writer, you can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be any of those other things and also be a dancer. And
a literal historian,
yeah,
a
right.
literal
Yeah,
doctor.
yeah, yeah, and it doesn't
Ugh.
neither they are not mutually exclusive, They talk to each other. They are important. It's important that you do other things, you know? And for people who like
Word.
maybe used to be dancers and now are just quote just a doctor or a teacher or a lawyer or something, and you're like, oh, like I can't go back and dance because like now I'm this. Like no, like come take my class at Steps. We have the best time, you know?
Ugh.
Like I just think that you gotta have more than one thing.
It's more interesting. It's more
Yeah.
fun. Keep everyone on their toes.
No, exactly.
Where I'm gonna put it in the show notes, but where should people find you? And will you also say your schedule one more time for
Yes.
our
So
dancers?
you can find all of my teaching information on my Instagram, which is at Chloe Roberts Dance, which everyone always makes fun of me for that's my name. But I literally made it when I was 18 and I've tried to change it and I can't. And now
Well, also there's probably 1,000,010 Chloe Roberts.
exactly.
Like that was like when I changed my last name, I wanted
Yes.
to be like Gabby Roberts.
Yes.
Every
No.
variation is
Mhm.
taken.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's literally been Chloe Roberts Dance for so long. That's also my website, chloerobertsdance.com. It's also my TikTok, Chloe Roberts Dance. So
Make
it's
it easy.
too late to change it.
Yeah.
And I teach at Steps until the end of June. I'm there on Mondays at 3 teaching contemporary jazz. And then every Tuesday night at 7 contemporary and every Friday at 12:30 is theater jazz.
I
So
love it.
I'm around and I'm performing at a festival in New York, not this coming weekend, but the weekend after, May 28th and 29th. And then I just constantly am posting about like when I'm presenting work or if I'm auditioning
Yeah.
people or stuff like that.
Well, and if you're listening to this to when it airs, I think that will be
Oh.
that week. No, I actually don't know what
That's
day
okay.
it is or any,
How
but
can you
but
pass?
in theory. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for chatting, you guys. I already know if you're not inspired after this, I don't know how to help you at this point. But like, subscribe, comment, all the things. Go follow Chloe, and
Catch
thanks
us
for
at
kicking
Empower
it with.
Jazz. Are you in June or July? Which weekend are you?
Emily didn't ask me back. No, it's because I've taught at all of them. So she's like, I just needed to bring other people in, which is like, I was like, that's fair. I'd be sick of me too. No, I'm just kidding. But I won't be here in June. Like I'm actually gone that weekend. Are you here in July?
July. Yeah, end of July.
Perfect. Okay, then we'll hang out. Great.
Yeah.
Love. Okay, and if you guys want to hang out with us,
Yeah.
let me know. Okay. Love you. Thanks for being here.